Welcome to Licking Non-Vanilla, a sex-positive hour of talk about kink, sexual mores, and writing dirty words. So grab a cup of cocoa, your favorite easy chair, and the lube as we go sailing into the dark, sweet waters of all things naughty. On Licking Non-Vanilla with your hosts Ralph Greco Jr. and M. Christian.
Hey everybody, welcome to Licking Non-Vanilla again. I am one of your hosts, Ralph Greco Jr., and across the continent from me is...
Chris, otherwise known as M. Christian, from the green wilds of Eugene, Oregon.
Yeah, and if you have to call him sir, but that's a whole different story. We're lucky today. We have a guest.
My liege.
Yes, my liege is nice. We have a guest today from the talk about far away from us both, Chris. Charlie Forde, and I was going to say Forde. She said I could say Forde and make her sound, very fancy. She's fancy. She's fancy enough. Charlie, it lives in Australia, and we just learned that it's a little cold in Australia right now, as opposed to New Jersey, where I am. But you just said to us that you're going to be traveling to Europe very soon, right? Is that true?
So I can't tell all the details yet because I'm waiting on some word from some very important people in Europe, but I have to go back to Europe to do some things. I think I'm going to announce it hopefully in the next few weeks. But I'm putting some roots down in Europe, hopefully.
Oh, wow.
Cool.
And will you be shooting in Europe? Shooting scenes and pictures, or just scenes, or either?
So at the moment, I'm actually about to create like a little European branch for my company. So I'm moving like my whole company over to Europe so I can shoot with all of the European performers as well. It's been a nightmare, but I'm so excited. I can't wait for it to be done.
That's funny you say this because when I was going through your stuff and I was putting up some questions, I was thinking about the difference between like being an adult in Australia and being an adult in Europe and being an adult in America. What are there differences, and if there are, what would you say they are?
Oh, big for question. Sure. Oh, easy answer as well. Australia doesn't have a lot of companies. So, I mean, there's only really one or two companies that actually shoot here. Otherwise, it's all content creation from, people. So it's it's more amateur, but it's a lot more authentic, I find. The films that you see that come out of it, they might be home filmed, but, the connections are excellent between the people in the videos. It's not forced. There's not a lot of... staging and stuff like that. And then the second you get overseas, it tends to be a little bit more, yes, the videos might be more polished, but I find sometimes that little connection between the two performers is not quite as strong. And Europe, everyone just does everything in Europe. Europe is the wild one. Everyone does anal, everyone does DP, it's just, it's crazy. I go over there and I feel like a little fish. Crazy. The stuff that some of the girls do with their bodies, my brain is just like...
So on that thought, then, what don't you do with your body, or the thing you don't like to do? Is there anything you said, that's not for me at all? Because I see you have a lot of content, a lot of different categories, and I was just wondering if there's something you said, is there anything that you're not your thing? Or a couple things that are not your thing?
I'm pretty crazy. There's not much I don't do. Is that bad to say? As long as there's no blood, poop, or bruises, usually is what I say to people. But I'm not at the point where I can stick lots of people inside me at once yet. So DVPs and DAPs I haven't ticked off yet, but they're not on my off list. It's just that I'm still training my body. 3 weeks ago, I learned that I could be vaginally fisted by some women. So now every time I'm with a girl, I'm like, you get to fist me and you get to fist me. Everyone gets to have a crack.
amiable. You're an
How-
amiable young woman. You know, an amiable young lady. That's nice. So
Pliable.
yeah, pliable and amiable. So, Charlie, tell us how this all started for you.
So I had a friend recommend that I start in the industry, and I'd never thought
Okay.
of it before. And I was actually super shy growing up. I was not good at talking to boys. I kept to myself. I was the nerd.
Hmm.
So I went away and I thought about it for a good year before I decided to jump in because it's so permanent. Porn is so permanent. Like, I really need to make sure that I'm okay with my legs spread on the internet for the rest of my
That's
life, you
true.
know?
That's true. Yeah,
So
true.
I went away and thought about it, and I just reached this point where I was like, you know what, I don't care what other people think. I've never really cared that much. Let's give
Mm.
it a crack. And then I
Right.
started, and I just realized I loved it. You know, like it's so
Hmm.
creative for me. And I do a lot of producing as well as performing. And I just
Yes, I
love
saw that.
the behind the scenes hustle and trying to get everyone together and get the perfect chemistry. Like it's so much fun.
Do you think sooner or later? Because Chris and I talk to people about this all the time, and I don't want to use the normal that word transition because we use it all the time. But do you think that you may go in that direction? Like sooner or later, you're just going to be doing that, or will you always perform on some level? Do you think?
I think one day I'll know when I don't want to perform anymore, but when that is, I don't know. I've actually had a very reverse porn star kind of experience with my career because I am very open that I'm an emergency vet currently as well as a porn star.
Hmm.
So I actually still work to date in my clinic. My bosses and my staff all know and, you know, they're really supportive of me. And then I came across porn while taking my way through vet school and kind of fell in love with both jobs and didn't want to give either one up. But now porn has gotten so big for me that, you know, like normally porn stars will be the porn star for however long until their career
Right.
kind of starts to fade away and then they move on. Whereas I've kind of reversed it and I had my dream degree and now I'm going off to be a porn star and I'm leaving my degree behind for a few years.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah, wow. Think about that, Chris. A vet. You know, a vet. Yeah, that's really cool. Wow. Chris,
It
you ever been
sounds
down under? Say. Go ahead, Charlie. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, it sounds cool, but, and I love being a vet, but
Yeah.
it's pretty fucked. Like, the job's pretty fucked. I'm not surprised that I want to go off and do porn for a few years. Our suicide rate's 6 times the national average here. 50%
Really?
of, yeah, 50% of vets will leave within the first 5 years of graduating because it's just such a difficult job. So it's time for a break.
Wow, I didn't know that. I always yeah, I always thought it was dentists, right? Dentists and the biggest like suicide rate in the U.S. is dentists, I think, which I can't. Right? It's strange. Yeah, I guess not. I mean, I don't know. So, Charlie, you also just recently. Uh, let's talk about Sexpo. I have it right here. My. So what happened at Sexpo? Because you were nominated for a bunch of stuff, and then you walked away with something big, didn't you?
Oh, so Sexpo is kind of like the Avian Expo of Australia. So
Okay.
that's coming up for Brisbane in like just a week. So I'll be there on the 19th. But we
Okay.
have awards that happen in Australia, which is different to Sexpo. So
Oh, okay. So that's what it was. Okay.
yeah, so there's two awards that operate in Australia. There's the Australian Adult Industry Awards, and then there's the Australian Industry Choice Awards.
Okay.
So yeah, I won Best Female Porn Star 2022, which was really exciting. Yeah, it was nice to follow it
That's
up
cool.
after my AVN nomination. I still can't believe that I was AVN nominated my first year producing. That's crazy.
It's fantastic, right? That's
Yeah, I
great.
wasn't expecting it at all.
So, do you think because the first thing you said to us how it's there is a major difference in the way that Australian porn is and the rest of the world, or Europe and the do you guys get a lot of love from the rest of the world, or is it still you're seen as like a little niche? What do you think, or you get has it changed over the years as far as
I feel like
acceptance?
I think we're like the random little exotic animal floating around in the porn world. We don't get the chance to go out very often. We live an awfully long way away. We're like
Yeah.
we're like the prized you know, zebra. I don't know. Like, if you find one of us out in the wild, out in the rest of the porn world, it's really
Out
exciting.
in the wild.
So people do love us, but I don't think people think about Australia that much because they don't get to see Australians that much, except for people like Savannah Bond or Angela White, who have like moved overseas and made something big of themselves. Australia is just so far away, and because it's such an amateur realm, you don't get to go onto websites like, I don't know, Adult Empire and, you know, Hot Movies and stuff like that and see a lot of Aussies.
Yeah. Right. But, you know, Chris and I have found, you know, for who we write for and who we talk to, you know, sole content providers, like you know, people making their own, basically making their own content now. And years ago, when we got into the business years ago, you know, we were reviewing DVDs, you know, and big companies and contract girls, you know, and that's not the way it is now. And do you think we're just going to continue to go down the path of sole content providers? You know, people taking their own path and making their own stuff.
I have a theory about this. I might end up being wrong, but when content creation came out, it was the niche, right? Like everyone was like, porn was a production world and a company world, and it wasn't in the hands of content creators. And people do appreciate seeing people make their own content. And it was new and exciting, so everyone kind of jumped on board, and people really liked seeing people authentically fuck. So I think people really do appreciate having that. It's kind of more of an intimate feel, right, when you're watching a content creator versus watching like a big feature film.
Sure.
You feel more involved. But now content creation has gotten so big, and literally every man and his dog is doing content creation and has an OnlyFans or a Fansly or whatever. And so I think at some point it's going to flick back, honestly. I think that people are going to go and think, you know what, I want to see those polished films again. You know, like, it's fun watching content creators, but the angles are tricky. I can't always see everything. I kind of like having a crazy-ass storyline, you know? So I think people will flick back eventually, but I don't think it's going to happen for a little while yet.
Yeah, it's funny. I think that's true, and I keep saying that about the music world. I think, you know, because, like, you know, we're involved in the music world, and creation, you know, solo creation by you know, artists are doing it that way. But, and I don't know if it's going to come back to the record company thing, but I think that, you know, you got to a point where you didn't, you know, it was amateur, and I think there's going to be an explosion that way. I think you're right about porn. I think they may go back that way. You know, which
I think everyone wants what they don't have, right? Everyone wants what they don't have. So the second something else is new or niche, then they're going to want it. My dog is wanting to be interviewed as well at the moment.
Oh, what's your dog's name? What's your dog's name?
It's Lola. Lola, this is not your day to be the one.
Hello,
Okay?
Lola. Lola, you're on Licking Non-Vanilla. I got to give the station show out, so let me throw that right now. So, Lola, you're on Licking Non-Vanilla, and we're talking with Charlie Forde, and I'm going to call her Charlie Forde because we're fancy.
Okay. You know, Australians tend to do that with a lot of words. Like, I don't know, do you guys have Target in
Yes, oh yeah, Target.
So, in Australia, everyone, I don't know why, calls it Target, because why not? Like,
Exactly.
You have this habit
What's the is it Vegemite?
Yes.
You guys have Vegemite, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Vegemite sandwiches. That's in the men at work song, right? Men at work, yeah. Vegemite sandwiches.
I'm yet to meet an overseas person though that likes it. I feel like you have to grow up with it to get it, and I think you have to know how to put it on. But
is it a spread?
Yeah, it's
spread,
yeast.
Right?
Yeast spread. I make it sound as unappetizing as possible, but it's yeast in a spread, and it's delicious.
I think I dated a girl who had that problem. Yeah. No, Vegemite sandwich. Oh man, that doesn't. So Charlie,
It's
yeah.
Yeah. You need lots of butter and just a little bit of Vegemite. Lots of butter and a little bit of Vegemite, and that's the way to do it.
Wow. Oof. Okay, interesting. So is there? So we're talking about actually producing content and then you being in the content. Is there stuff that you'll work on when you produce content and put it together, as opposed to stuff you'll do, what the stuff you shoot? I mean, is there stuff you do just content production as far as behind the scenes, and stuff you'll do for your when you're in front of the camera? Is there a difference as far as the things you will and won't do?
As far as what I do with my body, do you mean? Or
yeah, because when you're behind the camera, like, are you behind the camera saying, "Oh, I want to do I want to get behind the camera and I want to set up a kink scene, but I won't do that in front of the camera"? That's what I'm saying. Is there anything like that?
Nah, I do everything.
Okay.
I love it too
right.
much, and it's going to sound silly, but like I'm a tiny production company at the moment in the grand scheme of things. So hiring myself is very affordable because I'm free. So,
I'm sure. You find it hard to work for yourself? It's like, do you give yourself a lot of demands? Do you make a lot of demands on yourself?
I pay everyone else, and I'm stingy to myself. Like I gotta pay myself.
Yeah, right. You have a lot of stuff in your own writer that you have to like. I don't want to talk to myself right now.
I'm ready
Get her
for
out of
my
her
boss
trailer.
to pay me. Yeah.
Right. So basically, you're kind of, and don't take this the wrong way, but you're kind of wide open in all, kind of wide open in what you'll do and what you will shoot.
Yeah. I never say never to anything. Often it's for me, if it's something that I'm not doing, it's just that I'm not doing it because I'm still training my body to be able to do it. Because these days, porn has gotten more and more extreme. Everyone's looking for like the next crazy thing to do with your body. And 20 years ago, we weren't doing like TAPs on a regular basis. And now it's like super common in Europe and on mainstream sites. So, but it's the same as the Olympics, like everyone has gotten better and better and better and better, and now we're like achieving things that 20 years ago you never thought that people would be able to do. It's the same in porn, but I still have to like get my body to that point. Like the timeline, I have to speed it up. Yeah.
So what do you think we're not at yet, but we're going to go to? Like just right around the corner. What do you think's right around the corner?
I genuinely have no idea. I feel like my brain is tapped out of extreme things that it can cope with. I think I've seen everything. I've seen entire legs in people's asses. Like there's not really, I don't know what more we can go to be honest, but I can't wait to see what some crazy fucker puts out there. Yeah. And
you'll be there for it. So,
Yeah. Maybe it'll be me.
Okay. We're hoping. So let's talk about where people can find you, because that's important. When we get the episode up, we always do a blog and we put all your we'll put pictures in there and links and all that kind of stuff. But I want you to say it to the people that are listening, because we have a pretty good global listenership. I don't know. I gotta ask our producer about Australia, but I know we get around a little bit. But anyway. We try to get, we spread it around. So anyway, why don't you tell? Yeah, we have an unusual, we have a spike in Ireland every so often, which is strange. So Charlie, tell the people where they can find you. So just throw it out there, and I'm gonna write it too, but tell them where they can find you.
So I have the best website on the planet at charlieforde.com.
We know that.
I put a lot of love into that site. You can also find me on Instagram under the Charles Forde, CharlsForde. You can find me on Twitter and TikTok and Reddit under Charles Forde. Basically, if you type Charles Forde anywhere, I'll be there. I'm like a virus. I'm everywhere on the internet.
But a good one, the one we want to catch. She's a virus we want to catch, dude.
Exactly.
Charlie, we could sit here and talk to you forever, theoretically, because you're so sweet, so nice, and so intelligent. It's always wonderful to talk to people who really have a good spin on the business, because it seems to me that you kind of, you're open and honest about where things may go too. That's an interesting take on going back to the big production, which I've thought that for a while. I think Chris and I both have thought that. We've also hoped, because we're the writers, so we're hoping it goes that way.
Yeah. Well, I think the rhetoric of sex work in general over the longest time has been very derogatory. Like, our media worldwide doesn't really do a great deal for helping to paint the best picture in the industry. And it's not to say that like, there are lots of horror stories out there, like any business, you know, like you can hear about horrible things happening to plumbers and construction workers. At the moment, we've got a crisis with our construction workers in Australia. But I'm one of the blessed ones that has had a good experience. And I like to speak very honestly about it because I'm very privileged being a white woman in this industry who has a degree, who has 2 degrees, who can go back to other work if they want to, but I can choose to be in this and talk about it. And I'm not, you know, under fear of being fired. Like, it's very rare for that to happen. So I try to make the most of it.
Well, you do. I mean, and you know, because that's what we love the most, to get people on here who give us the honest, you know, poop. And we don't mean poop in, you know, the way we all don't like poop, but you know, but we just learned today that scat means poop. Well, we didn't just learn that, but somebody we know just learned that poop means scat. Right? Right? We know, but no, it's interesting, and I love getting the real perspective, you know, because like you just said, there's so much misinformation out there, you know, and especially about this subject we're talking about. Anything adult, people just becomes a whole stigma, you know.
I think people also think it's easy money, and they don't understand just how difficult it is, like both physically and mentally, and particularly when you're then producing. I think people don't have a grasp as to like how complicated and how much work this world is. Yeah, right. And you know, too, you know, it's funny when we just asked you to name the places where you're at and all the social media, that takes time and money too. It takes a lot of time and attention and money, and right. I mean, you're just, you know, TikToking and tweeting and twatting and all that stuff you're doing all the time, you know. I mean, it takes a lot of energy to keep yourself in people's minds and faces, and so people know you're out there, even because there's a lot of people doing this stuff, you know. Lucky, I love it.
Yeah, for sure. You know, I think that's, well, you know what they say: if you love something, you don't work at it, right? You're not working at it, but you're working hard. You're working hard, but you know you love it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Charlie, we can't thank you enough. This has been delightful. You have no idea how delightful this has been. You've just been.
I loved it as well.
Oh, we're going to have you on again. We want to have you on after the European adventures. You know, come back and tell us what happened.
Yeah.
All the details.
Sure.
You know,
we'll have lots of exciting stuff to talk about. Then I'll probably have answers from everyone, so I can finally like openly chat about it.
Wonderful. Well, we just wish you all the best out there. You know, and safe travels and all that kind of stuff. Get out of that cold Australia air. Yeah, and and we really, Charlie, thank you so much. That's been Charlie Forde, everybody. I'm going to say Forde because she goes to Target, and but she's really it's been a delight, and we wish you all the best. Thank you so much, and thank you, Charlie. Really, it's been wonderful. Thank you. Bye, Charlie. Bye.
And visit us on the web at www.lickingnonvanilla.com.